Alright, so now we are going to move on to the example so that we can see all the principles of graphic design in a nutshell. So we're going to use a tool called Figma. We've not talked about this in the presentation because there are so many tools that you can't list them all in one presentation. This one is good because you can actually prototype anything in the browser. You don't need to download or install anything on your machine. So we're going to start from scratch using a new or creating a new file. And here we're going to start. Okay. So first of all, what are we going to make? For this example, we're going to make a page, a website page, like a home page of a website. So we're going to use we're going to take the screen of a desktop. You can see the options here. You can select desktop or phone or MacBook, different resolutions for different screens. I'm going to customize it a little bit. I'm going to set the width to 1280 pixels and the height to 720 pixels. This is the standard HD resolution. And the first thing we're going to start with is a logo. We're going to make a very simple one. It's going to be just some text. I'm going to say graphic design. It's very small, I know. We're gonna make it bigger. You can go to the options menu here. You can make it bigger. You can take one of the pre-existing values, or you can use the arrow keys or type in the value directly. I'm gonna look for what looks a little better than this. And use a font called Poppins. You can see the change here. This is a part of typography, which is something we talked about in the presentation. This is Poppins, this is Roboto. There are different styles of fonts. There is also serif. Okay, there's no serif. There are different types of fonts like this one. You can see it's very different, and it's for more specific use cases. You won't use something like this in your website or something. For websites, we use normally a very simple fonts like this. Poppins is one example. Okay, so to make this a little more beautiful, we're gonna make it bolder. You're gonna come here, select the font weight, and set it to bold. That looks better to me. And concerning web design and mobile design in general, we usually want to have a set of colors which we're going to use throughout the entire design. For example, here we need a primary color, a color which is going to identify your brand, which is something we're talking about also in the brand identity design. So we're gonna come here to the color selector. We're gonna choose some color. I like blue. It's my favorite color. I'll choose this one for example. It looks good to me. And yeah, okay. So the next point I'm gonna talk about is layout. So for example, if I put this here, it doesn't look good. Why? Because it's stuck to the side, or if I put it on the top of the page, that doesn't look good either. We need some white space, or what's also called padding. Somewhere like this, that looks good enough to me. Move on to the next thing. Well, when you visit a web page, you probably have seen it multiple times. You find the logo here, which is something you can click, and then you have some options here, like a link that takes you to the home page, another one that takes you to sign up, or someone that takes you to create an account, or register or sign into your existing account. So we're going to do something similar to that in here. So we're going to start with just with some simple text. Let's say like home. Okay, this brings another point to the show. We can see that we cannot differentiate between the logo and this home link. This is what is called visual hierarchy. You can see that here we don't have any visual hierarchy. We can differentiate between them. To differentiate between elements, we can reduce the size, change the size of the elements, change the color, and we can also change the font weight. For example, let's make it regular, and that looks better. Okay, this is good. Now, where do I put this? We can put it here, maybe, but it's not aligned to the logo. Like, first things first, we need it to be aligned, like center, to be on the same line, something like this. See? And tools like Figma, Photoshop, like Adobe XD, they show you these guidelines to help you identify the position of your element relatively to other elements in the design. So here we can see that it's centered and it's well aligned with the logo. Next thing, we need to move it somewhere. Like, are we going to put it next to the logo or like to the other side of the web page? Personally, I prefer putting it on the other side, but here comes another point. Where do I put it exactly? Do I put it to the side, to the, like here or here? They're all good options, but following what we discussed previously, we need layout and consistency and balance. So we need the same space that we have before the logo to have it here. See? And to do that, we can just use some temporary rectangles here. Use this, for example. Alright, you can see it's on the side of the logo. I can duplicate this, put it here, so now we know where to put this text. We can put it here. Alright. Looks good to me. Now all we need is more elements like this home link. So to adjust that, we can just duplicate this element, doing this. You can say like about. Can create another element like, I don't know, say sign in, for example. So user can sign into their account. Let me zoom in, and there we go. But this is kind of messy. We need the home to be the first element, the sign in to be the last element. This is like conventions which we are going to learn. Like, if you want to learn graphic design, this will become like second nature to you. But here we see another problem. You see the difference, or the space between the home and the about links? It's not the same space as between the about link and the sign in link. How can we fix that? Well, this is why tools like Figma are very handy. We can use what's called we call it like a frame. Yeah, a frame. We can put this inside of a frame, and we can use auto layout. We can lay out things horizontally or vertically, and we are aligning them vertically or horizontally. But you can see that they don't respond to the size of their parent element of this frame. What you can do is just come to here. We can use, instead of next, instead of packed, we can use space between. Now you see, as I change the size of this element, the space is also changing, which is good. This is good for UI consistency, and also it saves you a lot of time when working with this type of stuff. Now I'm noticing one thing is that the size of these links is still quite big, so we're going to reduce that. I'm going to set it to something like 20. I think that's good. It might look small, but it's because we're working on a very small screen here. And the second thing we want to assure is the alignment with the logo. How can we do that? We can simply just go here. We can go here, set this to center. Alright, that looks good to me. So next thing is we're going to need some type of button in this navbar. This is, by the way, called a navbar or a header. You can call it, I mean, it has different names, but it's usually called navbar. So I'm gonna align these like this, just so to have like more control over these elements. Now we're going to add a button here, okay? So usually when it comes to buttons, we do something like this. It's a rectangle that has some color or some border, and we put some text inside of it. Like this, put some text here to say sign up. Okay, alright. So of course this color is very boring. We're going to change it to our brand's primary color. This is why it's good to have a primary color, because then you can use that same color for across all the pages and all the elements. And we can, to make this a little better, we can increase the border radius. Come over here, and okay, here's another problem. It's not exactly a problem, it's one of the principles of graphic design. You can see that we have some like a dark text on a dark background. That doesn't look good. It's hard to see, it's hard to read, and like just visually speaking, it doesn't look good. It's not aesthetic to the eye. So what we can do is, it's very simple to fix. You can just change it, like the text, to a light color, like white in this case, and that looks a lot better. Okay, so now like you can see that the text doesn't sit at the center. This is easy to fix with Figma again. You can just come over here, go to Auto Layout, hit plus, look for mixed, and select the center. And now you see if I change the size, the text is always in the center. Alright, so now we need this inside of the navbar, close to these elements. We can just drag this over to the frame. Oops, that's not what I want. Okay, actually that's what I want. I'm joking. So now we drag these elements like these. Okay, so now there's another problem. These elements are not aligned with this button, so you can just come over here. We can fix this by fixing the sizes of the text, which I forgot to do previously. You can just do this, and like this for the home link, and that's much better. Okay, so I noticed that the button is way too big, so we're going to make it smaller. Okay, and also the width, or sorry, the height does not fit this width, so we're going to make it less thick by reducing the height, and that looks a lot better. Now we don't need these anymore, so we're just going to delete them. You can see that it's consistent. We're respecting all the elements of graphic design, and that's what matters. Although it doesn't look like as aesthetically pleasing as you might think, but this is a very good place to start. Alright. space less. And fix the alignment. Alright. So now we move to the more important stuff, like what is the content of your page. Here we're just going to add some simple text and a button, which is something you see in many websites, like in the landing page of websites. So we're going to start with text. We're going to say become one among the top 1% developers in the world. I hope that's no wait, it's not developers, it's graphic designers, my bad. Okay, now it's easy to see that this text needs to be bigger, because this is like the title of the page, something you want like the user to see as the first thing when they land on the page. That's something we've learned to do. You can just increase the size, and also to make it more important, you can make it thicker, or you can increase the font weight by making it bold. That doesn't look bad. I mean, it looks good, but it needs more size, like more font size. This is a rule of thumb: whenever you increase the boldness or the font weight, you need to increase the font size, so that you can have a balance between the two. Alright, now what we could do, honestly I don't like it being bold, so we're just going to revert to regular, because it's already big enough to be significant. And what we could do is, now it's taking too much space like vertically, so we can fix that by reducing the line height. We can go to the options and look for line height. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, it's set to auto by default, like Figma figures out the best line height, but in this case we want our custom line height, so this looks better to me. This is also something that we usually do with very big text, is we decrease the line height, because otherwise it will take too much space vertically. That looks better to me. And next thing is we want to add something like a description or something like that. Alright, so I forgot one thing to mention. This, how does it look to you? It looks messed up, you know? Like there is no layout here. To make it consistent, to make the website consistent, we need a set layout. So this text needs to be aligned with the logo and cannot surpass these limits, so that we have consistent padding throughout the entire page. Alright, so, and by the way, there's a handy tool for designers to generate random text, because what are you going to type in there? No one knows. Okay, so for some reason this is not working. Okay, anyway, I'm just going to type some random text in here, since it's not working for some reason. Alright, so learn epsilon $set, and more like HTTP. I'm just typing random stuff, by the way, it doesn't make any sense. Alright. reduce the text size because I can't see what I'm typing, so I'm just gonna go here. This is something we're gonna need to do regardless. We need to also change the line height. As you can see, that looks too bad. Okay, now that looks better, much better in fact. And to make it more readable, we're gonna make it bigger. And also to make your text readable, you need to reduce the size, or not the size, but like the number of lines. The more lines you have, the better, or at least the less number of words per line. Working on real-world projects to get you ready for the job market. And here we have a problem of visual hierarchy again. This text and this text, they look way too similar, although we know that this text needs to be a lot more important than this one. We can easily fix that by reducing the size of this text, or making this text bigger or bolder, or the solution that I enjoy and that I love more is to make this text transparent. That looks better, like aesthetically, and also takes less space. So we can just come here and slide this slider, and I think something around 75% is good. Now there's a problem with spacing, as you can see. This text is not well spaced out from the title, and we can easily fix that by moving this title up. Also keep in mind the alignment. You can get the guidelines from Figma, which are very handy, very useful. Also there is another element of alignment that I am using here that I have not mentioned, and is the alignment between the title and the description. You can see that where a word ends, a line ends in the title, is the same spot where the line ends in the description. That's more pleasing for the eye, and makes the user more comfortable. Now what we also see like very frequently on websites is a call to action button. Something that you have here, like in this area, that makes the user take an action. Like this button here, like we want the user to sign up. This is the best place to put it because it's in a very important place in the website, and it just takes a lot more attention here. This is called the hero section among developers, and it's not called the hero section for no reason. Okay, so we can just copy this element, move it around. Oops, my bad, what just happened? Okay, we can just Control C, Control V. Oh, what did I just paste? My bad. Okay, you can Control C, Control V, and there's the element. You can move it around, put it here, and make sure you have consistency. You can see that I copied the same button element that I already have in the navbar, and that's to make sure I'm consistent throughout the entire design. I like to make the call to action buttons a little more unique. You can see I reduced the border radius just to make it more unique and to make it stand out from the other types of buttons like this one here. That makes the user want to take action a little bit more. Although in the end there are many variables that depends on, like the actual product, what are you offering them, but this is stuff for another day. This is not related to graphic design. Alright. What I like to do also is to make the text closer to the title, and make the the call to action buttons are a little more spaced out. Like we have less spacing here than we have here. See, we have more space between the text and the button. But here comes another problem, is the size. This looks way too big, so we're gonna reduce the size to something like this. That looks much better. Now we have more visual hierarchy. That looks a lot better for the eye. Oops, did I just do? I want to change the text to something like requested demo. Or let's go and start now. Let's go and start now. That's more exciting. Can set the font weight to medium. That doesn't change much, but it's good to have. We can duplicate this button, and we can add like a button here that says see the pricing, and to not have very repetitive elements in the page, we can make this button stand out from this and this button, but also making it less important, because we don't want, this is the primary action that we want the user to take. So we're going to make this, we're going to make the background white or transparent, like it's pretty much the same thing. So we're going to delete this fill pretty much. Wait, my bad, this is not what we want to do. We're just going to delete the fill, and we're going to add a stroke with the color that we have already used, which is our primary color for our grade. I'm going to make the border a little bigger, set to 2 pixels, and the text is not visible at all, so we're going to change its color too. Maybe something like, I don't know, something dark would be good. Anything dark. Let's try blue or black. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. I think that's good enough. Okay, so I think we're gonna stop there. We don't have much time left. I'm pretty happy with our creation so far, and I hope you enjoyed our presentation, and thank you for your attention. Goodbye.